I'm Kayla, and I was raised in a single mother family. Now, I'm an office worker. I met a man through work and got engaged. I thought happiness was waiting for me, but instead, I faced humiliating situations. My dad passed away when I was young. Since then, my mom brought me up by herself, so to speak. It's a single mother family. I remember the words my dad often said.
Take care of the people and things around you.
My mom said the same. With their influence, I understand the importance of appreciating people around me. I was able to meet a man through the introduction of a senior worker at my work. He's Ryan, and he's the leading type of guy. He's got this confidence about himself, often saying, "Follow my lead, and everything will work out just fine," like it's his catchphrase. There were times I thought he might be a bit too cocky, but he's always been kind to me and seems trustworthy. I even started thinking I could marry him, but I had my worries. I come from a single mother family and want to stay close to my mom. This meant living with Ryan's parents would be challenging. But when I told him, Ryan said, "I've thought about that too. I won't make you worry about strange things." That's when I really fell for him. I told my mom about him, and after hearing my story, she accepted him. A few days later, he proposed to me. Of course, I accepted, and I became engaged to him. Our happiness just kept building up. However, I started to feel a bit uneasy about his behavior.
Let's go out for steak. I know a great place.
We had never gone out for steak before. I liked the idea. I was hoping that maybe he would take me to a nice place, including an engagement celebration. Yet, the place we ended up at was more of a chain restaurant-level steakhouse. It was a bit pricier than your average diner, but still, it was affordable. Ryan cheerfully said to me, "You've never had this kind of thing before, right? I've heard single mother families have it tough." When I heard that, I felt that I was being mocked. Sure, I work and can afford places like this. But I honestly replied, "It's been a while since I've been to a place like this." I actually ate steak for the first time in a long time. But then Ryan said, "Right, you'll be able to enjoy this anytime now," with a bit of a brag. Later, he took me to a somewhat fancy bar and told the bartender, "Listen, it's her first time at a place like this. Her family situation's been tough, so I brought her here. I'm pretty nice." He talked to the bartender in high spirits. It was as if he wanted to say that I was from a single mother family and had no financial ability. True, it was my first time at a bar, but only because I hadn't been interested before. To avoid spoiling his mood, I replied, "It's my first time, and I'm really impressed." This kind of behavior continued, making me doubt Ryan's feelings for me. Does he really love me? He kept speaking to me in a way that seemed belittling.
Hey Kayla, I'll take you to a nice Chinese restaurant next time. How about you join me at the arcade today?
He suggested something out of self-satisfaction, like that bar closed down because their seasoning was off. I knew it would. Amateurs might be fooled, but not a foodie like me. He boasts about this from a high horse, even when talking about reasonable chain restaurants, trying to impress me. I was a little worried about the future, so I contacted my mom. "Sorry to bother you while you're busy, Mom, but it's about my boyfriend." When I started, my mom kindly urged me to go on. I didn't go into too much detail, because I've been told to take care of people since I was a child. I feared she might scold me, saying, "You shouldn't speak like that." So I wondered if I should even be discussing this with her. But she was the only one I could rely on emotionally. Still, she may have grasped some of the content. My mom said to me like this:
The most important thing is to take care of your own feelings.
Her words indeed made me feel a bit better. It made me think twice about waiting a little longer and asking myself questions about Ryan. But then, I faced an unprecedented humiliation. Ryan suggested, since we're getting married, it'd be good to formally meet my parents, right? On a day we planned to see a movie and have dinner, he abruptly took me to his parents' house. If I had known, I would have dressed more appropriately than just casual outing clothes. This is a bit inconvenient today. I'm totally unprepared. Despite my reluctance, Ryan didn't understand it.
It's fine. You don't need to stress. I'll back you up.
He said so, and I was dragged along. I had briefly met Ryan's parents, my future in-laws, a few times before. There wasn't much to talk about at the time, except that Ryan told his parents that she grew up in a single-mother family. I was concerned about the way he said it, but that's how honest Ryan was. So, I didn't have much of an impression of them. However, during this first in-depth conversation, my future Mill said something shocking.
You were raised in a single mother family, right? I never imagined someone like you marrying our Ryan. Are you sure? We are a respectable family, and you come from a flawed one.
She outright called my family background defective just for being a single mother family. She even mocked, "It must be tough, huh? Not being able to enjoy fun or good food. I wonder if you're really a match for our Ryan." I couldn't stay silent after being insulted like that. I'm also a company employee with income. My mom raised me all by herself, and we've never been deprived of anything. I retorted with some emotion, only for her to dismissively say, "Well, not deprived by your standards, right? I mean, look at the clothes you wear. Is that what you wear to a place like this?"
Don't equate your flawed perceptions with ours, right? Don't you think so, Dad?
She said, looking for agreement from my future Phil. And suddenly he started laughing. That's the problem with single mother families, isn't it? Not even understanding your own situation. I was on the verge of tears, being ridiculed like this. Ryan, who had promised to back me up, said, "Can't help it, marrying me will straighten things out," which was far from supportive and only added to my shock. At that moment, I felt utterly disillusioned. Marrying into this family and becoming one of them seemed impossible for happiness. Despite my feelings, Ryan cluelessly suggested, "So, let's have a dinner meeting with your mom, too, to meet formally." His mom then condescendingly added, "If Ryan says so. It'd be interesting to meet her mom of a single mother family and judge for ourselves." Ryan arrogantly promised, "Don't worry, Kayla, we'll cover the dinner meeting. We'll treat you and your mom to something that'll blow your minds." And then I couldn't even say anything, and the arrangement was decided. Frustrated and saddened, I shared my feelings with my mom again. "Even if you tell me to cherish people, I can't handle these people." I absolutely didn't want to have that dinner meeting, but to my surprise, my mom told me something unexpected.
I understand, Kayla, thank you for telling me, but since you're engaged, it's proper to greet them. If they've made arrangements, we should follow through as a matter of courtesy.
Despite my strong objections, my mom agreed to attend the dinner. I was frozen, holding my cell phone, unable to believe that even my mom wouldn't understand how I felt. But my mom finally said,
I care about my only daughter the most. Leave it to me.
I didn't fully grasp her meaning, but she had a plan. A few days later, our family meeting took place. Ryan said, "Don't worry about dressing up too much. Don't stress," which was typically dismissive of him, but obviously, we couldn't go along with that. My mom and I picked out decent outfits and went to the restaurant that was the meeting venue. Honestly, for all their pretentious setup, the restaurant seemed like a place we could visit anytime. Hardly the exclusive establishment I was expecting. Nonetheless, since Ryan's family was covering our meal, I held my complaints. Upon our arrival, his family was already there. "Sorry to keep you waiting," even though we were 20 minutes early. Despite the apology, Ryan's mom smugly remarked, "It's okay, we know single mother families can't afford taxi and might be running late." We caught a taxi just fine, the roads were surprisingly clear. Then Ryan's dad added, "What can you expect from a defective family? They probably don't even know how to hail a taxi." My anger was rising, but my mom remained calm, taking her seat without showing any sign of irritation.
I'm Kayla's mom. Pleased to meet you today.
Ryan's mom then patronizingly said, "A single mother family, right? Must have been hard raising your daughter alone. Poor thing, without a husband, your home must be struggling. My husband earns well for us, you know. Ryan told us you live in quite a run-down apartment. Just what you'd expect from a single mother family," she smirked. I was about to retort, but my mom remained unfazed. The way Ryan's mom spoke to someone she was meeting for the first time was beyond me, but my mom just nodded along.
The dress is plain and not expensive, so it can't be helped.
Ryan said, "Well, Mom, I told them not to bother too much, didn't want to stress them out." Does he say it is kindness? Ryan's mom then said, "Still, joining our family, I'm having second thoughts. Such a poor family." I was ready to leave, but my mom didn't say a word. "Why aren't you saying anything? You told me to leave it to you." I was confused. Surely, even my patient mom has her limits. But then, my mom's demeanor changed.
Indeed, we cannot become relatives with you. Rather, we wouldn't want to.
It was the first time I saw my mom speak so sharply. The in-laws were taken aback. My mom then delivered the coup de grace.
I heard from Kayla that you really have a bad mouth. You don't seem to know where you stand. You said our clothing is plain and not expensive. Don't you see this brand logo? These are made to order and imported directly from Italy, and the top and bottom are about $20,000. Of course, that's about what Kayla is wearing, but it's understandable that you don't know. What you guys are wearing is about $500 at most.
Ryan's family was dumbfounded. They thought we were poor people, but they were confronted by us as no big deal. Ryan's mom, covered in cold sweat, couldn't grasp the reality. She said, "What are you saying? No need to lie." But then Ryan's dad recognized the brand.
That logo, I remember from TV. It is the brand name goods used by Hollywood actors and actresses.
When the in-laws' faces hardened, my mom returned calmly.
Oh, did you finally notice? After all, it is a family of ordinary employees working at a subsidiary.
As she spoke, she took out a business card from her bag. Ryan's dad was even more surprised when she gave it to the family.
Ah, The president of one of the top real estate companies.
My mom said to Ryan's dad, who was in a panic. Oh, you understand, that's right. It's the parent company of a small company where you work. This company was originally my husband's company. It's amazing to me that it has grown so much in one generation.
But after he passed away, I took over. Well, that's about it. You do realize that my husband was a great man, right? You called his wife and daughter poor.
I can't stop my mom's tough talk. Ryan, confused, asked us.
But why live in such a run-down apartment?
I decided to answer that. We actually have a family home. That mansion in the next town, the one everyone calls a mansion, was built by my dad. I think Mom said it was about $3 million, right? It's the mansion everyone in town has seen. And our true scale was too much for Ryan's family, leaving them in shock. I explained why we are living in the rundown apartment. It might look dilapidated from the outside, but the inside is well maintained. That apartment was another property my dad owned, and we used to rent it out to others. After my dad passed away, the mansion felt too large for just the two of us. My mom and I, both being modest by nature, agreed a smaller home would suit our daily life better. So, when the apartment became available, we moved in. However, we still use the mansion for hosting business guests. Now I only use the mansion when my mom calls guests, but she still uses it once a week. Otherwise, we have a housekeeper maintain it. After I said my piece, my mom concluded, as you said, we're not a match, therefore we cannot become relatives. With that, we stood up to leave the restaurant. However, Ryan's dad tried to stop us.
Please, forgive our terrible rudeness. Let this incident pass.
He must have realized his position in the company my mom owns. Fearful of repercussions, he begged for forgiveness. He must have been afraid of that. But my mom simply said, we'll see about that. This may well be the last time we meet. My mom and I left the restaurant, dismissing Ryan's dad, who was slumping his shoulders. A few days later, Ryan's dad faced consequences. My mom, who always values treating people with respect, detested those who belittle others. My mom, therefore, relentlessly contacted the president of the subsidiary and told him about Ryan's dad demotion. Although he was a section chief, his salary was reduced as a result of returning to a regular employee. The reason for his demotion spread, making his presence in the workplace unbearable. He looked down on a single mother family as defective or poor. Moreover, if the person is the president of the parent company, there will be no one to follow. Since most of the employees said that he was a terrible person, it seems that he no longer has a place. In the end, he resigned himself and couldn't get a new job. Ryan also doesn't seem to be well thought of by his colleagues at work. My senior colleague who introduced me to him had a connection with a woman who works at the same company as Ryan. It was that connection that led Ryan and I to meet. When I told my senior about my breakup with Ryan and the reason for it, he also told the woman at Ryan's office.
When he got engaged, he was in a good mood, but he was really a jerk. He is such a scumbag.
It seems that the woman at the same office as him said so. Ryan seems to have quit on his own because it was getting harder to stay at work. Now, Ryan and his family are truly living in poverty, having lost their income. It seems that people in the neighborhood started to think that it was weird because parents and son had no work and were busy in the neighborhood. And they can't even pay the rent for the apartment they were living in, so they have to move to a cheap and shabby apartment. Neighbors even said they're walking in a discouraged way, and I wonder if they were both fired, right? His wife is wistful, but she was bossy from the beginning. Serves you right? They would not be able to stay even in this town. It's not like they had enough economic power to be bossy in the first place. It means they were punished. Ryan has called a few times, begging for another chance.
Kayla, please, listen to me again. Talk and you'll understand. And my mom said too much.
But he still doesn't understand that the fault lies with him as well. How does he not know that he is at fault as well as his mom? First of all, he should apologize. You approached me thinking I was a poor, weak woman who would follow your lead. Haven't you realized yet? I'm not someone who needs to rely on you. And I was confident that listening to you would never lead to anything good. After saying just that, I forcefully hung up the phone. As for us, my mom and I are still happily living in the same apartment that was called rundown. The biggest takeaway from this ordeal was realizing how strong my mom is. I'm thrilled and even more respectful to have such a mom on my side. The situation with Ryan and his family was infuriating, but now it's become a joke that we can laugh about together. Really, they were a family that only had a mouth. It was a learning experience to see such people exist. I might have fewer memories and affection from my dad compared to others. But in turn, I've received all of my mom's love, and more importantly, I'm happy and fulfilled now. Being able to feel this way makes me grateful to have been born into this family.